Okay, our next speaker will be Mike Kilbourne from KL Discoveries. His talk will be entitled Kirkland Lake Discoveries Corp. Exploration, the Kirkland Lake Gold Camp for a Tier 1 deposit. Mike has graduated from the University of Western Ontario in 1985 with an honors BSc in geology. His first field season was in 1980, representing over 40 years in the industry. Mike's career has involved holding various executive positions for junior resource companies, gold production geologist for open pit, underground bulk and narrow vein mining, and long-term mine planning for the 10 plus simulations U.S. aggregate operations. He has supervised and logged over 150,000 meters of diamond drilling in Archean, precious, and base metal projects. Recent work for a private firm including generating over 700 exploration targets across North America and Mexico before joining the former Warrior Gold team in 2021. Welcome, Mike.
Okay. I'm gonna go freehand. Thanks, Mike. Good morning. This is the Kirkland Lake Discovery presentation. And Mike, next slide. This is our disclaimer where you don't have to believe anything I'm talking about. So, next slide. So Kirkland Lake Discoveries was formed by a joint effort between two people. Daniel Spethman, can you please stand up? She's been kicking around the camp for 10 years now. Thank you. From former Champagne Resources and Warrior Gold. And the other part of Kirkland Lake Discoveries is Denny Laviolette. He is not here, but we do have Stefan Klepowicz from VP of Corporate Development. Wave your hand or stand up there. Thanks there, Steph. Anyways, as I said, are we the new kid on the block? I don't think so. We are sort of the new old kid on the block because these two people put together a land package and a new company to tackle this exploration. So in 2013, Danielle consolidated the Goodfish Lake area. This was her first vision in the camp under Champagne Resources. That took 9 separate agreements to get the claims and the patents all consolidated into Goodfish. She focused exploration and drilling along the Kirana Deformation zone. We'll get to that with the maps later on. And in 2018, through an RTO, the name changed to Warrior Gold, which we've been around for a bit. In 2020, she added the KLW and KLC land packages to Warrior. Denny, if you don't know, you should. He's the founder of Newfound Gold. He's the founder of Gold Spot Discoveries. They have specialized geophysical surveys and AI. In 2016, which he sold to ALS Minerals in 2022. He is the founder of Newfound Gold, and that has a $1 billion market capitalization with the Queensway discovery in Newfoundland. I'm sure you've read about it. Newfound Gold vended the Lucky Strike property to Warrior Gold and combined that with Warrior Gold's property and with a financial raise form Kirkland Lake Discoveries. So that's how we all brought ourselves together to form this new company to explore this prolific belt. We've all seen this map in various forms throughout our speeches. Doesn't need an explanation. We are in a prolific camp in the Abitibi that has produced lots of gold. So we have consolidated one of the largest land packages in the history of the camp. We have over 53 kilometers of strike length going from Highway 11 over in Tessakinica all the way to the Quebec border. 38,000 hectares, hundreds of kilometers of mineralized structures in an established brownfields camp, multi-ounce showings at surface, and we were fully funded for a 10,000 meter drill program, which we've completed some of that so far this summer. So I just want to speak a little bit about Warrior Gold's accomplishments, and then I'll go to NFG's accomplishments on their property, and what we're going to do, what we've been doing this summer as a new company and moving forward. So we really, in the early days, Danielle focused on the Goodfish. That was her first foray. And concentrated and recognized that the Kirana Deformation Zone was important with some old mines and shafts there, the Kirana and the Fidelity Deloy. There was the Goodfish trend. That's not a fault, it's just a trend that hosts several northwest trending shears, the Joe B and Mel Zone. So anyways, she concentrated on that area of the camp, 5 drill programs between 2018 and 2021, totaling 60 holes and about 14,000 meters. 88% of those holes came back with anomalous gold. So a great success story early on in the early days of the Goodfish. And well, what was our gold model host or type? What were we thinking? What was she thinking? Obviously, we were not down near the Larder Cadillac break, but recognized that the Kirana break is a second order, and much of the Kirana Deformation Zone is on the Goodfish, as you can see. Hang on, where's my pointer? Oh, I gotta hold it down. Hold it down. Okay, so there's the Kirana Deformation Zone, and a lot of her focus was early on in the days with these northwest trending structural splays off the Kirana, representing the Kirana being a second order structure off the first order LLCDZ, and looking for third order damage zones from these second order structures. So that was her focus, and it was very successful. Now, to support this theory or this thoughts that there are prospective structures north of the Cadillac break that are very prospective for orogenic gold deposits. Again, this was supported by Freeman in 2017. He did a detailed structural analysis of about 20 square kilometers surrounding the Kirkland Lake break to better understand the strain zones distal to it, more to the north, and we can even apply that to the south where Canadian gold miner is looking and North Star. But he had a few conclusions here that the Blake River was folded before the deposition of the Temiskaming. The dominant structural fabric is post-Temiskaming and observed in high and low strain zones. Ductile high shear zones are regularly spaced distal to the LLCDZ and localized on earlier brittle damage zones with pervasive carbonate metasomatism. So there's multiple deformation zones within a broad domain north of the Cadillac break, and this provides favorable pathways for gold-bearing metasomatic fluids, and obviously remain very prospective for orogenic gold deposits. So that is a big support for our early thinking here. So going back to one of our main zones, we call that the Joe Zone. That's on northeast. There's the Kirana Deformation Zone. There's the Goodfish original property. Joe zones on a northwest trending splay. I'm stuck, I think, over 40 holes into this. Is a long section. What we're seeing here in long section is a steep northwesterly plunge. The Joe zone is typified by flow top breccia between two tholeiitic flows, iron and magnesium, with a bit of a subordinate sheared and altered quartz feldspar porphyry in there. But it's intensely sheared in between these flows, which makes sense because that's where the strain is going to be taken up. And with the addition of Fe carb, elbite, sericite, silica, and quartz with foliation controlled pyrite, that makes the zone. And next slide there, Mike. We, as I said, 46 diamond drill holes for 11,600 meters into the Joe zone. And we've outlined that 650 meters of length, intersected up to 350 meters vertically. And we're also picking up some associated footwall mineralization and a high-grade hanging wall. One of these holes, we had 1.22 over 74 meters. That was in the footwall. And on our last program in the fall of 2021, picked up some high grade in the hanging wall. So a very good, it's a very good system there. We have a shear zone. We've got, and as we've seen in other talks these last few days, there's different styles of mineralization, gold mineralization in a deposit. It's always not stuck to one. Anyways, that's the Joe zone. So in 2020, Daniel added the KLW, just call that the Kirkland Lake West property, and we call that the Kirkland Lake Central property. And we completed a high-resolution magnetic BLF survey and LIDAR by gold spot, followed by in-depth interpretation. Reinterpretation sort of said that the Victoria Creek fault through is continuing on to the KLW up through here, making that very prospective. The Kirkland Lake, on the regional map, if you've ever seen the Kirkland Lake fault that holds, all the gold mines down here in Kirkland Lake. If you ever saw it on the regional map, it came up here, and then it sort of took a jog, a left-hand sort of jog there, up to on the side of through here. Never really understood why, and I'll get to some more of this evidence later, but we started thinking it matched better if it was just drawn straight and was connected with the Massima Mist Lake Deformation Zone. And I'll show some evidence about that in some more slides. And then concentrated on some on the southwest corner of KLW, had some rotated geology and structure. So all of these areas were interested and prospected in 2021. Next. Just down here in the southwest corner of KLW, KL West, we picked up some high-grade gold results, some copper grab samples, and sort of noticed a regional scale epidote, calcite, hematite, and magnetite alteration. We need some more work down there to understand that, but there's some very nice looking mineralization down there. Now we add Lucky Strike, and Lucky Strike brings some more great deformation zones. It brings some old mine sites. It brings our closeness to Upper Beaver. So you can see this is the Lucky Strike mine. The Russian kids over here just across the border. It's underground. It has not sure if it's compliant. Anyways, it's got 500,000 ounces of gold in reserves. We have the old Walsh mine. Here it is in the bottom right-hand corner here. It had development at one point in, I think it was 1924 or so. Anyways, high-grade gold around here. And we have the Copper King, where we've got some areas of interest here. But anyway, so this is the Lucky Strike addition to Kirkland Lake Discoveries. And it brought to us 6 main areas of interest. And as I said, the Walsh Mine, the Kerr North up here, Copper King, historic shaft here. The FP zone was discovered in 2018 actually it's not, it doesn't mean feldspar porphyry, it means frank closure, but anyways, it was discovered in 2018, became part of the Lucky Strike claims. The Labyrinth East was discovered in 2021 along the Malvern Fault, and the historic Norwood stuff, our sampling and pits and stuff was a historic prospect. So those were like the main 6 areas of interest and structure that the Lucky Strike brought to us. So over at the Labyrinth where I pointed, it was just west of the Russian Kid, along the Malvern Fall. We have a 2 to 5 meter wide quartz carbonate sericite shear zone. It was stripped and channel sampled in 2021 over 250 meters. NFG put in 9 holes for 1,500 meters with highlights in holes 1 and 2 of 0.62 over 17.5 meters and 1.1 over 11.4 meters. Very impressive shear zone, quartz carbonate sericite shear zone with lots of surface deformation in it. Over to the FP zone, NFG was working on this also. It was stripped and sampled in 2018. Got some very spectacular looking high-grade channel samples there. They went back and drilled 8 holes for 1,900 meters in 2021, and the highlights of that was 3.3 grams over 2 meters. We all got excited again with 2023 grab sample of 157 grams per ton. The FP zone's an Fe carb altered mafic volcanic unit, but it has these shallow dipping float top breccias that host a coarse pyrite matrix, and sometimes you're getting VG in this, and this stuff was accentuated on the surface of the outcrop. You know, gold bearing system, the gold got there somehow. We've got some more work on figuring out how that relates to some of the other stuff in the area. And some of that other stuff in the area is the Walsh Mine. It was developed in 1924. Mafic cyanide hosted quartz mains, approximately a meter wide or less, with high-grade gold. NFG expanded the area of interest with the discovery of new veins in 2019 and 2021. I think down on here. But it's been well drilled over the years with 40 historic holes totaling 10,000 meters. But again, that just tells us in this area with the cyanite, and I'll get more to this later, with the cyanite, mafic cyanite body, that, you know, and the FP zone down here in the volcanics, something's happening there, and we'll need some more work and investigation to figure that out. So after all that, what do we really have? Well, what do we have? We have a large land package, untapped historic potential, in a large land package associated with structural corridors that really, you know, it's been consolidated all at once in one large package. We need new eyes, and we need push the envelope a bit, but I mean, it's been consolidated in one package, and when you start stepping back and looking at a regional scale and looking at things, things start popping out in your mind, and you see different things instead of just having all these small little postage stamp claim groups. And we're in one of the most prolific gold camps in the world. So this is what we realized we had when we combined all the properties. So when I talked about structure, we've been talking about structure for the last 3 days, and we all know the importance. And we're fortunate that Merck had been doing some seismic surveys on unprecedented scale across greenstone belts of Superior Province, looking for these deep plumbing systems. And if you were here on Monday, the supply that supplies hydrothermal gold-bearing fluids, and these are very important in structures. I mean, and even and Ross touched on this on Monday. You know, when they did a transect across through Red Lake and the Confederation and the Balmer, Great Bear recognized as the LP fault through here, deep-seated structure in the Confederation. But everyone said, well, there is no large gold deposits in the Confederation. It's only in the Balmer. That's where the gold mines are in Red Lake. Well, the Dixie project will eventually, in my mind, be a 15 to 20 million ounce deposit. So never say never. That's what we take from that. So anyways, very important work that Merck's been doing. Next slide, Mike. So we were fortunate enough to have a transect at Larder Lake that they did, that started down in below Boston Creek area, all the way up through across the heart of the Lucky Strike property. Very fortunate to have that as they cross the Lincoln-Nipissing structure, the Cadillac break, and some of our structures, deformation zones that transect our property. And if you were at any of the talks on Monday, we can see here that based on that transect and Merck emptying conductivity, the relationship and the distance, conductivity, and this supports our idea that the Kirkland Lake Fault is really an extension, or the Missima-Miss Lake Fault deformation zone is really an extension of the Kirkland Lake Fault. Here's the Lincoln-Nipissing deformation zone, and here's the Cadillac deformation zone with this finger of conductivity coming up here. But spatially, when you look at the distance between these two, here is the conductivity of the Missima-Miss Lake deformation zone. So we believe that really the KLF, which obviously is a very important structure, it's a deep-seated structure, and that is lining up very well with the Missima-Miss Lake deformation zone that is occurring across the Lucky Strike. So that makes it a very prospective deformation zone for exploration. Here's the seismic data, and this was sort of mislabeled wrong. I tried to get that changed. But anyways, not the Malvern Lake Fault, but the Missima-Miss Lake Fault. So here it is, just another diagram of the seismic and the MT expression. So a very important structure through the Lucky Strike property. So take that and put some new eyes on all of this with the work, the historic stuff, historic workings, the showings, the magnetics, regional magnetics. So we got everyone together and had a week-long targeting session and outline areas for our first exploration program this summer and spring, fall, and to, you know, let's tackle this, put some new eyes on it, what would we like to do. So we had a targeting session. You can see all these little boxes and red squares of our areas, and over here in the Lucky Strike areas of interest that we thought. So we were concentrating on the Goodfish Kirana for drilling, because we had some unanswered, very interesting areas for drilling and you know, based on the Kirana deformation zone, magnetic breaks, northwest trending structures, old assays from historical drilling. So we had some very high merit targets for drilling for this summer. How am I doing for time? Oh gosh, I'm whizzing through this. So this summer we completed 2,999 meters and 9 diamond drill holes in the Goodfish Kirana land package. And as I said, drilling targeted, focused on regional targets along the east-west Kirana Deformation Zone, which is coming up. I haven't got it on this map, but it's up through here. And we picked targets of merit coincident with intersecting northwest structures, IP chargeability anomalies, known gold mineralization at shallow depths from historic drilling. We completed 2 holes at the Joe zone again to investigate that at depth and down plunge, and take a look at some of those high-grade hanging wall intersections that we had from the fall of 2021. Assays are still pending out on that, but we just finished this program, and we liked what we saw in the rocks. At the same time, over at Lucky Strike, we got Gold Spot to do a multi-parameter airborne survey system, heliborne MPAS over the entire group. At 100-meter line spacings, we did heliborne, magnetic gradient, VLFEM, radiometric, and LIDAR. So very great tools at a very more dense, high-resolution spacing. And after that, the Gold Spot team took all this data and did some in-depth geological and structural interpretation of the various data products that they produce. So our lithological interpretation, I mean, this is the regional map that we've all seen in this area. This is what Gold Spot came up with, and really it's not too bad. I mean, it's not totally different, but there's geologically these were felsic intermediate dominated volcanics in the regional map, and based on magnetics and thoriums and all the rest of the stuff that they look at, potassium, and interpreted to be sort of more mafic in nature. But there was some subtle differences that piqued our interest, and these being more or less these cyanidic, intrusive, diuretic cyanide, sort of mafic cyanides that intruded these packages. So there was big difference in some of that lithologically. And when you look at the RTP with derivatives, and ternary images, it's like a light bulb shining in a sea of mafic volcanics here, and so I mean these are mafic cyanite, which after the Upper Beaver talk yesterday, hornblende diorites, but anyways we call them locally they're known as mafic cyanites and diuretic intrusions. So these areas are lighting up. They're in structurally prepared mafic volcanic background, and if you can see, a lot of the old showings and historic stuff is related spatially to these cyanite and diuretic intrusives. Upper Beaver's down here. I got to do a little arm waving here with the Upper Beaver intrusive complex with cyanite, mafic cyanites, and diorites. So we're getting the same rock packages or the same rock types up here in the Lucky Strike that need some very deep in-thought lithological or some more investigation. Gold Spot, this is a little faint, but anyways, really didn't want to get into what all the structural was, but the main point is here that Goldspot found about 5 different generations of lineaments, some of them simple, some of them more complex, a definitive northwest lineament and deformation along here that we see over in the Goodfish, and traces of the Mullivan and the Missima Mist Lake faults, and some other very interesting structures that Goldspot pointed out from their data. So we have a new and improved geological and structural picture. If you went back to that regional map, it's like night and day, obviously, when you do these. So our areas, those areas of interest that lit up like a light bulb on that map, these are then there. And when you add structure and showings and these are very interesting structurally prepared cyanitic and diuretic intrusive bodies with historic and new showings, and that was the focus. This was the focus of our 2023 mapping and prospecting programs this year. That's where I was going with all this. So then we've concentrated on these bodies for mapping and sampling and to understand them a little better. So we've had multiple teams with boots on the ground mapping these areas in preparation for some winter drilling, finding some great rocks out there. This is the team on work. We are finding some looking like young Davidson cyanide we just saw in the earlier talk. We've got some stock work, sericite, epidote, pyrite, mineralized, really nice looking stuff up at the Hurricane that we are now calling it. But we're finding some very good evidence of alteration and mineralization, and it's starting to look like some other things around here. I'm not going to put a pin on it, but anyways. And one area that's really that we've hit hard is the what we're calling the hurricane zone. That was that northeast or northwest area of interest from one of the other slides there. Now Norwood's been around since the early 30s. There's numerous 90-year-old pits and shafts and deep, large, shallow shafts and trenches. All along cyanite contact, mafic volcanic contacts. But when Goldspot, took a closer look at this, you can see that there's dextrally faulted, and their interpretation, dextrally faulted cyanite bodies in a mafic volcanic package, but we're butted right up against the Missima Mist Lake Fault, which to us is the extension of the Kirkland Lake Fault. So we got multiple high-grade historic samples from this area. They did tons of trenching up there. All this stuff though is about 90 years old. So we got a we got like a 2 kilometer by 6 kilometer corridor here with some great showings, great rocks, great alteration, great structure with less than 1,000 meters of drilling over the years. So this area has really piqued our interest, and we will probably, and more than likely, I should say, be drilling that this winter. And I threw in this slide because Goldspot also took the 1999-2000 TDEM data set and interpreted lineaments. And they recognized that there was this corridor that really ran northeast, and we've seen this northeast trend in multiple talks in the last couple of days. Is a prominent trend in Larder Lake. Greg Collins showed us a prominent trend down in their ground, down Boston Creek area and south. But here we are again with this northeast prominent trend, and behold that within that trend, you know, we got the Upper Beaver, the Copper King, which is it was underground on a copper bearing system there, and here's our Hurricane in Norwood that we have our interest in. So again, you know, this is going to be our mapping strategy following this important trend that, you know, we see throughout the whole camp. So we're very excited about this feature too. So in retrospect, stay tuned, because we have 4,000 meters of diamond drilling plan for starting in January 2024, and you'll be hearing some great news from us. And can you just move that over a bit, Mike? So Danielle sent me this slide to thank all our generous support over the years from different communities, different people, different geological contractors. Yeah. I guess we're just not getting the whole slide. That's all right. Any questions?